What I want to do today is walk you through some of the strategies that I used when I was managing several projects at once. And when I say several, I've managed for several years, on average, 20 to 30 concurrent projects at the same time. And at some level you're going, that's insane. How are you going to do 20 or 30 projects? Well, I want to walk you through a strategy of time boxing that I used that helped me a lot. The first thing, right, I did every morning for about an hour, hour and a half, was talk to every single person that was involved, or at least one person from each team that was involved in any project. I did that every single day. And it would be often a 5-minute call, a 3-minute call, an 8-minute call, but I would talk to 5, 6, 7 different people, right, to get a handle on the 1 or 2 projects they were running, and I'd talk to each one to get a handle on what got accomplished between yesterday and today, right? What was the progress? What was the movement? And in doing so, I get a better handle on, are we further ahead, and how much further ahead are we? What percentage is done? Just by asking some quick questions, right? Well, okay, so we had 3 or 4 people working on it yesterday. That should have moved the needle, right, in terms of progress on the thing, right? And if they tell me, well, we were stuck, we didn't get very far, then I know we're behind. If they say, oh, we got through more than we thought we would, then I know we're ahead, right? And what I'm constantly doing is getting a little bit of each day an adjustment of where we're progressing. Now, to collect that information, right, I'm matching it against what's called a work breakdown structure. Another way to call that is a task list, right? So I don't design task lists. I don't create task lists. I ask developers to create the task list based on our overall goals. So by saying to a small development team, you tell me what you're going to do. You tell me what we need to do. And they, write it all out. Now I use that list to say, okay, which part of these got done? How much did we get done? So that I can compare progress to the list and have a consistent running total of how far along we are in the project. The benefit of that is that at any point when I'm talking to a customer, at any point, I have an update. I have the latest information. So imagine you get to work at 8 o'clock, right? From 8 o'clock to 9:30, I'd be on the phone. I'd be talking with team members to get a handle on all the projects. By 9:30, I felt like I know the status of everything, right? But invariably, what came up in all those calls were questions or things we needed, right? Things where the client was holding us up because we didn't have something, or questions we had that we needed to resolve. So from 9:30 till 11, I often spent my days writing email. Now, those emails were very specific. They were all to ask, I have this question, we need this answer, or I have this need for this file that you haven't yet given us. And the whole time I'm doing that, I'm also giving them an update on status. It's much nicer to be able to say, hey, I just want to let you know, we got through this and this yesterday, and over the last couple of days we made a lot of good progress. However, we need this from you, right? I'm giving them an update, but I'm also asking for the thing that's holding us up, right? So from 9:30 to 11, felt like, okay, now we're clear. Now, from 11 to 12, and notice these are locked in time. So if I don't finish something, right, I know I'll just have to circle back to it later. But from 11 to 12, I would check my regular email, right? Notice that I don't start my day with that, because email's one of those things where it's so easy to get derailed. Now, if the majority of your email is customer facing, if the majority of your email is coming from folks that have questions, then that's one thing. But if your emails are distracting, if they're internal communication going back and forth that have little to do with the projects you're running, I would push that later in my morning, so that by the time I had all the status updates and I had sent out all the requisite emails to customers on things I needed, then from 11 to 12 I could go through and quickly scan and read email, right? And in that scanning and reading email, I would look at what do I need to keep in my inbox to do, and what are the things I can just forward on to someone else, what are the things that I can delete, or what are the things I can archive, right? And as I'm doing those things, are there any things where I have to give it to someone else? I'm trying to move through those things quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time on email. I just want to navigate through them. The to-do list, obviously I'm going to leave. Any of those emails that are action items, I'm going to leave for later. I'm going to leave for when I circle back to it, right? Now at this point you're going, okay, that gets you to lunch, and you're like, yeah, but already I've accomplished a lot. right? I've already accomplished a lot because I'm aware of every single project, and I know the task list, and I know where we are. If someone calls me and asks me a question, I'm in charge. I know exactly what's happening. Now, from 1 to 3 or 1 to 3:30 is when I would book meetings, right? Most of them client facing, not a lot of internal meetings, right? Most of them client facing, from 1 to 3 or 1 to 3:30, depending on the nature of meetings. And I try and schedule every meeting for only 30 minutes. A lot of us default to an hour-long meeting, and an hour-long meeting is a waste of time. If you can't get prepped, get in, say the stuff you need to say, and get out, then maybe you're not ready to have the meeting. So, from 1 to 3, for example, you could have a series of meetings, right? At least 3, given that you probably have a little bit of time between each one, right? And from up to 3:30, you'd have at least 4. So, depending on the day, I might have 1 or 2 client-facing meetings. Again, those meetings are to sit down and go over something, to collect something, to show something, but I want to keep it tight and fast. I want to keep it prepped. In order to have it prepped, though, right, you need to schedule those meetings, and you need to send out recaps and information. And I would do that from 3 to 4 or 3:30 to 4:30. That's the time when I'd sit down to say, okay, now we've gone through most of the day. Let me collect the stuff for tomorrow's meetings or next week's meetings, and I would craft summaries and everything else I needed to get those out, right? So that tomorrow's meeting, someone would have, oh, I have a summary of what we're going to cover. I have the issues that are at issue. I'm prepped, right? So I would send those out in the afternoon. The benefit of sending them in the afternoon is that it won't distract you if you were to send it early in the morning, right? If you send an email with a summary in the morning and someone gets it, what are they likely to do? They're likely to call you, right? And you're going to burn time through that which isn't in my plan. But if I send it in the afternoon, they're either going to call me after that, or they're going to wait till the next day. And often people would end up waiting for the meeting itself to talk about it, which is fine too. So you do that from 3 to 4 or 3:30 to 4:30, depending on how many meetings you had. And then what you have after that is from 4 to 5 or 4:30 to 5, you have the ability to circle back to your email, right? Now that you've sent out a bunch of stuff, there may be some people that reply. Your internal staff may have a question prepping for a meeting the next day, etc. And so I take another pass. So once before lunch and once before the end of the day. Now, there are going to be days where I don't get everything done. There are going to be days where I don't touch every single project, right? And especially if you have 20 or 30, you're going to be in a place where you're going to have to make some decisions. And so one of the ways that I manage that is I sort the list of projects I'm working on, right? And I consistently sort them with the ones that are most precarious at the top and the ones that are doing well at the bottom. What that means is that if I don't get on a particular day to one of them, right, I'm likely not getting to one that's already ahead of pace, right? So part of that dynamic is each time one is not doing so well, I'm literally going and making sure that we're cleaning that up so it drops to the bottom and then it's refreshing, right? So it's really easy to stay updated on the cool projects that are fun. It's easy to stay updated on the cool projects that are on track and doing great. But where you add your value is in focusing on the projects that are struggling or need more communication. As you can imagine, what this means is I'm talking with my teams every single day. It means I'm sending out emails and meetings most days. And it means I'm processing email in a way that's not distracting, right? That's the core of it. Now, a whole nother topic is the how do you sort which projects are healthy, which projects are bad. We'll deal with that later. Thanks.